Hi YouTubers, my name is Kevin and you're watching The Royal We. In this message I want to talk with you about how healing from toxic narcissistic abuse on your own, without anybody standing up for you, without anybody defending you, without anybody running to your rescue. Even though it feels very lonely and very painful, this is ultimately pushing you into living your most authentic life. And this could be the best thing that could possibly happen to you, as it was happening and is still happening to me. Now, if this is something you want to hear more about, hit the like button right now and I will continue. Now, I want to share a couple of stories with you that are very personal to me because I want you to understand two different types of living: conditional living versus authentic living. Now, when I was a young boy around the age of, fourth grade, I will say, well, all throughout my adolescence and public education, especially, I struggled because of ADHD. I do have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and please hold your jokes. I'm sure some of you right now are saying, absolutely, Kevin, I can definitely see that. And that's okay, right? I embrace it. It's a part of who I am, and it's a part of how this is all coming together. Now, when I was younger and in the public education system, there was very little tolerance for that. As a matter of fact, a lot of us kids that had ADHD were rounded up and experimented on with drugs like Ritalin and this and that, because they simply couldn't understand why we didn't want to sit down and listen to the boring teachers lecture us about a bunch of nonsense, right? And all throughout my young life, my report cards looked the same. It was Kevin is a pleasure to have in class, but he's either looking out the window or trying to talk to his neighbor, and that's just who I am. Now, I had a very difficult time with one teacher in particular, my fourth grade teacher. I even remember her name. I won't say it. This is Westra. And anyways, this teacher was very, very cruel to the reality that I had attention deficit disorder. She obviously did not have the skill set nor the patience or the tolerance to deal with that type of issue. So she would often point me out in the class, send me to the back of the class, yell at me, cast insults at me. I believe she was narcissistic. And by the way, the teaching profession is riddled with narcissists because a lot of them could take on this God complex. The classroom is theirs, and if kids aren't paying attention in the way they want the kids to pay attention, they will punish the kids. I've come across this many times in my adolescence, and someone like me was a prime target, as I did have ADHD, which makes it very difficult for people who demand attention, right? And so anyways, I would often tell my mother about what was going on in the class. By the end of the school year, the final blow from this fourth grade teacher was that she decided she wanted to hold me back, even though I did the best I could, doing my homework, turning in, and I did fairly well on tests, but she wanted to keep me back in the fourth grade. My mother, something ignited in her. She literally went to the school and put her foot up the ass of the principal of the school and of the teacher. And needless to say, I went ahead and passed on to the fifth grade without any questions asked. And now I want to share one more story that's similar with you. And that was a situation in summer camp. Now, my mother would drop me off at summer camp. My mother was a very hardworking woman. And so during the summer, I needed to be involved in camp. And one of the camp youth leaders, it was probably a guy in his mid-20s, we were all playing, and again, probably because of my ADHD nature, he got annoyed with something and he started calling me names such as geek and dweeb or something like that. And it did make me feel bad throughout the day. And I remember going home with my mother. She asked me how my day was, and I said, well, I was called this name. It made me feel bad. Turned around, and once again, my mother went and literally put her foot up the ass of the owner of that summer camp. And needless to say, the next day, I was in the office with the owner of the summer camp, and what looked like a dude, in his mid-20s that just got berated by the owner of the summer camp, being forced to apologize to me. And the rest of our experience together was different. He was very kind to me. And I had a pleasurable experience throughout the rest of the summer camp. Now, do I believe that what my mother did was wrong? No, not at all, and I'll tell you why. Because I had no choice but to be in public school at the time. I had no choice on my own but to be in summer camp. I had to be there because my mother dropped me off. Therefore, she felt responsible to make sure that they were treating her son respectfully. After all, she was paying for that. However, I do want to bring this to your attention. I believe subconsciously it gave me some inaccurate life experiences and some understandings about reality that I would bring to your attention of what I would like to call conditional living. In other words, that it's okay to live and be present and be okay so long as certain conditions are met. So I want to talk to you about 3 aspects of conditional living that I took in based on these experiences. And by the way, there were plenty of experiences like this. So the first aspect of conditional living is to believe that things have to be good, people have to be nice to you and treat you well in order to be physically present and to be yourself and to be happy and to get along and to be joy-filled. That's the first aspect of conditional living. The second aspect of conditional living that I believe I picked up was that if you are not being treated well and treated kindly, then you should be able to bring it to someone's attention and make sure that they change and suddenly treat you better and start to like you, right? Another part of the conditional living. And then I have one more. I'm going to read my notes here that I made. And that is that if I personally can't change someone's mind about how they treat me and how they like me, then I could call upon somebody else who will make sure that that person treats me better and treats me kindly and treats me with respect. So these are 3 aspects that I believe are conditional living. And this, I believe, subconsciously I grew up with. And I started to live my life. And it makes sense. And it actually makes sense as to why I really enjoyed my time being involved with church. I was a part of counseling teams at church. I was also a worship leader in the church. And church life was fantastic because I believe it creates an environment that's very softly padded. Don't get me wrong, a lot of bad things happen in church, but for the most part, it's very soft padded and people are expected to treat each other a certain way. There's a mutual respect and understanding. And so I was fine with that. But during that time, I was also living conditionally. I felt good because everybody else was under the impression that you all have to get along and be good and kind. So enter narcissistic abuse, a situation that I experienced and you have experienced where suddenly you're being ridiculed, criticized, called names. For me, it was like being back in that situation with the 4th grade teacher or in a situation with the stepfather that I experienced narcissistic abuse from. But this time, later in life, you have nobody, you try your best to be, first of all, the first aspect of conditioning comes in, which is you're unable to be peaceful and joy and find happiness and be yourself because you're experiencing this criticism. Next, you try to bring up ways in which the other person should treat you better. How many of you have done that in narcissistically abusive relationships, right? You should really be nicer to me. Be nice, you're being disrespectful, right? So I learned that from watching Mom. That's the understanding that you can put your foot up the ass of somebody else and cause them to change. How many of you know that with narcissists and narcissistic abuse, especially later in life, this does not change a darn thing at all? And then the third part of conditional living, well, you ask somebody else. So I complain to other people, just like you have, about narcissistic abuse. And what happens? Everybody starts to look at you differently. So this causes you to withdraw into yourself and for the very first time, start to process the realities of the world differently. That you need to find and discover a way to overcome this so that you can be yourself in the face of criticisms and ridicule and people hating you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Because how many of you realize that narcissists often like you for no reason, no objectifiable reason whatsoever? A narcissist can take will perceive an attack by you simply because you like Apple iPhones and they like Android. They'll take this as a perceived attack on their character and they will hate you and punish you for that. Meanwhile, you're left going, what in the world's going on? But the reality is we can't change that. There's nothing you can do to change that dynamic. So you accept it, and we have to learn through healing that we can be ourselves, be confident without needing to have a conditional atmosphere. That's the first aspect. The second aspect is that we can't change it. We cannot change how they see us. We cannot go through life trying to change how other people view us. Period, end. right? The third aspect, if we can't change it, then maybe somebody else, that mother figure, can change the way they see us and treat us. Well, at some point in life, you no longer have that mother figure to do that. And nobody else is going to come to your rescue. Nobody's going to come alongside of you and face the narcissist and say, you better treat this person better. It just doesn't work like that, right? So what you're left with is withdrawing and working these issues out for the first time on your own. Now watch this. Now we're going to get into the good stuff. Because once you heal from this and you work this out, you start to be able to live authentically. Authentically. Now, what is living authentically? What's an authentic life? Authentic life is being able to be present and peaceful and in the moment, each and every moment, despite what other people are saying about you, no matter what they're saying behind your back, no matter what they're saying to other people about you. It does not faze you. You move forward. You rock on. You do your thing. Authentically, you walk according to your morals and your values. You do not get sucked into their arguments and their pettiness. You walk out your life. You can only do this once you face the pain of healing on your own from toxic narcissistic abuse without fighting them and without having other people fight them. So you go no contact, you turn around and you heal and you process the pain and you learn to understand, again, the authentic lifestyle, which is understand the world is not necessarily for you. People are not necessarily for you. People will hate you for no reason. It's their reason only, and we have to be okay with that. We cannot change that. And once we realize this, we can begin to live authentically, meaning nothing they say can faze us or affect us. Now, I believe my mother did everything right, except for instruct me and guide me. She could have done the same things while also guiding me, saying, Kevin, by the way, what you're experiencing is the reality of the world. You're experiencing the reality of the nastiness of people. You're experiencing the reality of narcissism. And then perhaps my mother could have helped me to understand my father better. Perhaps she could have helped me to understand my stepfather better. But she didn't, because my mother did not understand narcissism at the time. All she understood was that her son was being treated poorly and she was going to put her foot up someone's ass for it. But had she had known more, she could have directed me to understand at the same time as putting a foot up their asses, because they were being inappropriate with the fact that they were being paid and to take care of me, right? But she could have also taken that time to help instill in me the nastiness and the narcissism, if she knew about it, of people and of the world. And perhaps help me to be able to grow and learn earlier on in life how to live my life free of caring and worrying about what other people have to say about me. But that was the missing piece. But healing on my own from narcissistic abuse, as you're healing all by yourself of narcissistic abuse, will lead you into your most authentic life, where you live from your passion, your morals, your beliefs, your principles, and your values, no matter what anybody says. And now I'm going to follow this video up with another video tomorrow that I am really excited about. Tomorrow's video is going to be on how to crush narcissists with your authenticity. So you definitely want to watch that video. Now then, I definitely want to be a part of your healing journey. So I encourage you to visit www.jointheroyalwe.com, where you can schedule one-on-one time with me. We could do a telephone consultation. We could also do a FaceTime or iPhone FaceTime consultation for those of you who are Apple users or iPhone users. Or we could do an email consultation if you'd like to do that. Also, every Monday night is Royal We Live Chat. This is an opportunity for us to come together as a community. You can ask your questions there. You can even call in for free, so long as you know that it is a live show. And that is Monday nights, that's tonight, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Link is down in the description. Don't miss it. Also, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. is Royal We Fellowship. This is an in-depth Bible study coming from the perspective of understanding this toxic world of narcissism. It's unlike any Bible study you've ever been a part of. And I will be right back with more videos right here on the Royal We. Visit the description box down below. Check all the links that are there for you. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's all down there for you. I'll be back.